Hello there. We got the first frost of the year, so of course I'm wearing shorts and Birkenstocks, but I got to the shop. It's like a refrigerator in here to put on my cool beanie, a little embroidered logo on it. I haven't worn since last winter. Today we're going to do something completely different. This is going to be a shop tool video for frame building. This is something that I used to do a little bit of. Never that much into it. It's for mitering tubes. I should show you that. So what I usually do for mitering tubes, you have to miter tubes. The tubes come totally straight and flat on the ends. They're usually butted inside. You have to look inside and try and find where the butt is and mark it with a Sharpie. Because you want that thick butted area to go inside the lug, because that's where you want all the heat and brazing. And the thin area you avoid. So you definitely don't want to cut all the butt off and be into the thin area and try and braze that into a lug or bottom bracket shell because it'll crack. It's just too thin. It needs to be thicker on the ends where you braze. So the tubes come totally straight, so you have to miter the tube so it fits on another tube just right. Like, let's do this side. So that it fits on another tube just right. Looks real good. No daylight, no gaps. Nice and tight. Right the angle you want. That's important. You gotta miter to angles. One of the easiest ways to figure out your miters, especially if you're going to use lugs or something, is you can take your lug, you get the right size tube for the right size lug. We're all the way in, we haven't cut any off, so we know we're in the butt. I usually try and find like the thickest, longest part of the butt and put that down by the bottom bracket shell. This side's usually a little bit shorter, so it can be up by the lug. You can see inside the tube's nice and painted red, which is usually, some companies paint the inside on one side to let you know it's the long side. Some companies paint it on the other side to let you know it's the short side, I think. So this is the long side, most likely. Holding it up to the light. I don't know, this side looks pretty long. This side kind of looks like it's only about here. So this might be the short side. On seat tubes, they sometimes paint this, let you know on the side that's no butt at all. So for a 27-2 seat post, this side's going to be 0.8 millimeters thick, so 1/8 of a millimeter, very thin. The rest is going to be 0.6, so 6/10. So on your seat tube, you want to put, they often paint the side where the seat post goes, so always test the seat post first and see. The trick is to slide a lug down on your tube, and then you can take a nice little fine Sharpie and get in there and trace as much of it as you can. And you can slide the lug off, and that kind of lets you see your angle. So this one just needs a little bit of a cut. It's right up into the sides. This side needs that big giant cut. And that's because this is at a crazy angle. And then what I usually do is take a tube block, put this in the vise, take tin snips. I know it sounds weird, but you really can. A nice set of tin snips. You can trim out most of this little oval, and then take a big file and file it away till you get all the way past or right up to the Sharpie. You can put it back in the lug and double check it. You can hold this up against the tube you're going to meet and double check it. Double check it over the frame drawing. We did a video on frame drawings and frame design. But if your elbows start hurting all the time, if this is getting real old real quick, I basically do all these same steps, but instead of hand trimming and hand filing, do it just right. That's the trick. You got to do it and double do it and then take it out and check and hit it just a little bit more and take it out and check. Then you got to make sure this other side is exactly the same, on the exact same phase. If you file this one, and then this one's a little, you turn the tube a little bit and file that one, all of a sudden it doesn't line up on your bike. And, you know, it's not a very tight miter on both sides. So a lot of machinist guys have big, giant machine mills. You can use a Paragon Machine Works block. I should show that. You can get these Paragon Machine Works blocks. So an alloy set of blocks. These are great for holding stuff in the vise too. But you can get them clamp onto your tube, and they're threaded and drilled for bolts. So you can clamp it on your tube, mark your centers, put this in the mill and cut one end, flip it around, and it's always going to go in the same vise in the same mill. So it's always going to hold your center line, which is really nice. You don't have to futz around as much. So I might use that on this as well. But this is the poor man's way of doing all this. So this is a small drill press. I paid $40 for this used on, well, my friend Jeff found it at an estate sale. They wanted $150 for it. And at the end of the day, they're like dropping prices, and he's hung around all day to buy things at better prices. And at the very end of the day, they're like, it's all free or it's going to Goodwill. So I just changed the camera angle so you can see a little better. So we picked this up for free, got a couple of them, he bought a few of them, got a few for free. Sold me this one for 40 bucks, but they're usually on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace for 40 to 75 used. I'm sure it's like 300 bucks new. So I got this drill press, I got the table all the way down. Then I picked this up from another frame builder friend of mine when he found out I was still hand mitering. This is a tube notching tool. I just kind of taken it apart because we're going to do some stuff. So this is usually bolted on here. There's little degrees. They're always wrong. They're 0 to 45, and we always do like 73. So you have to like always do the inverse of what the degree is you want. You can go like this on this thing. It's got a V groove here and a little U shape here. So you tighten this down to hold your tube in. This goes inside the drill press, and then you put a big hole saw in here. So you can use a hole saw to cut your mitered angle in. No hacksaw, no hand filing, nothing. This is not nearly as good or as fancy as a big mill that's all precise and exact, and you can really set it up. So let's look at you real close, so you kind of guesstimate on your angle. You know, whatever the opposite of 73 is. What is that, 7? So 27 degrees. So probably come try and find 27. This thing just has a crude edge for the angle finder. So we found it best when I had Northern. We used one of these and we set it up just real close. I'm not trying to nail the tube exactly. Come out like a mill or 2 or 3 and do our first cuts and then check. You can always do a second cut, or you can just take the file and hand file it the last little bit to get it perfect. It just saved you a lot of steps and a lot of elbow pain. We both were getting tennis elbow from all the filing of miters from the frames we were making. And I have this pulled apart because there's something very important about the tube notcher, and that is that this little V here and this little U here, bike frame tubes are really thin. This is made for big, heavy tubing for doing, I don't know, plumbing, roll cages in cars, like who knows. So it does not work. If you tighten this down on your tube, you'll never get it tight enough, and your tube will chatter and move and cause real problems, maybe explode, cut, tear, break. Or if you get it tight enough, it'll put dents in your tube. Can't have that either. I sell scrap steel for like 78 cents a pound, and it's always just a little cut off. Some guys like, I need 6 at 24 feet, and they only come in 28, so they cut off the extra 4 feet. There's just little chunks. It's cheap. Find your local steel yard. It's the best weather all the time. All the tools I make here, my fork raking tool, this thing, like anything I make from scratch, I go to the steel yard and just buy steel. Usually I go there, I'll just buy a bunch of random stuff. I'll buy a weird piece of tubing and a couple of people's angle iron, and it's like $12. And like, this has been sitting around for a year because I thought this might be the right thing for this V. So I'm gonna bring it in here. I'm gonna cut a little chunk of this out. I'm gonna weld it into this. I'm also at the same time gonna cut a little chunk of this out, and this is a little more awkward. I'll file a little flat, and I'll clamp it down with this other half of the V to hold it straight. I'll braze another chunk of it up here. So instead of having this awkward U and this awkward big open 2 pieces of V, clamp my tube and dent it, it'll be supported all the way through. It'll still chatter like crazy, so the next thing we're gonna do is just like the EVT stand arms, this is all on and ready, we'll JB weld in a big chunk of leather, so it's like a baseball mitt. So you can get it on there, we can tighten it down real tight, the leather will squish, tube supported over the whole way, shouldn't dent, shouldn't damage the tube at all, the leather and the long, nice support, and shouldn't chatter. So we'll be able to do some rough cuts. This is a little less important if you're just doing a single frame. You're like, oh, I only have like, 6 or 7 miters to do. I don't want to set this up. But a lot of guys, once they do a bunch of frames and kind of get good at it and people are interested, they want to make them cheaper and faster and easier so you lower the price so you can sell more. Turns out it's all about price points, man. So this is really nice if, like, I for my frame drawing, I got a 56 centimeter single oversized bike, so I can use the fancy Pacente lugs and the fancy Pacente crown. My plan is to make like 5 of them in that size. Hope they sell. Hope I get a few deposits. Will help buy all the tubes and stuff. That's a plan. I'm not really that into batch bikes. I mean, you get a really nice hand. You get like a $5,000 frame for like $2,500. It's gonna save a bunch of time. That's why the Taiwanese frames are so cheap. Cheap labor, and all the tubes are machined there, and no regulations for paint or machinery or tubes or anything. No environmental regulations. and you get them all set up. So the guys there are going to build 500 in one size. So they set this thing up. They'll have like one setup for each and every different angle or miter. So they don't have to futz with the tool at all. They just come stick the tube in, go bloop, flip the tube over to the next one, go bloop, that tube's ready. And they can just do 500 tubes like that in about 30 seconds. Instead of me spending, an hour or two on every tube. So it's real easy. You mass produce stuff so you can get the cost way down. You don't need skilled labor. You don't need somebody who really knows what they're doing. It's just fast. You can have a guy who just does it on a smoke break, doesn't even know, has never even seen a bike in his life. You can come over there and just operate that machine, flip it over, operate that machine. There's a lot of cool old videos from like the 50s, 60s, 70s. Because the old Panasonic factory didn't even have a drill, they had a notcher. It's just like a metal blade that just like bit the tube and crushed the end. You stick it in that notcher, clunk, flip it over, clunk. Made real crude, rough miters. They didn't care, just hammered the lugs on, just brazed them. I've seen videos where they just hammer the lugs on, like hammer them on. I would never do that. My lugs always slip fit perfect, so the silver can flow perfect. Hammer them on. Just dip the whole lug and joint right into a vat of molten brass. There's probably some in there. It's probably good. Like, just see crazy stuff. You watch those old videos. Everyone's like, oh, Mazzi's are the nicest bikes ever. You watch those old videos, the Mazzi factory's whacking it with a hammer, just beating it. Oh, it is a factory. It's amazing all those bikes didn't break. In theory, allegedly, whatever you have to say, not get sued by Mazzi. I mean, they're great bikes, but their techniques and stuff I would never use as a custom frame. I'd be horrified that all my bikes would break. So that's the plan. I'm going to weld these up today. Get this on here. Go next door to the hardware store, buy some JB Weld. I think I have some leather, probably. And see if we can get this old tube notching. This might be a real huge video. It's like, this will be a little quick fun video. I'm working on the Allegro too. I'm making a video series. I'll get a video on this and that. Might be a lot. So I'm gonna stick this guy in here. I don't want to stick out too far because I want to come get in the way of the hole saw. So I'm just gonna have it barely stick out just a little bit past on both sides. I think I already marked one on the Sharpie. I can't see it. It's a little bit past on both sides. It's a nice place for the fillets to build up. I could use a MIG welder on that. Most guys don't have a MIG welder. If you're getting into frame building, you really should have an oxyacetylene torch by now. You should be doing some practicing. Or even made a few frames by hand. So I marked this guy. I'm going to cut just 2 pieces of equal length. Braze this one fully in, then I'll clean up this other side, clamp it together and braze it in to try and keep these things in phase and in line. If you get one of these that's too big, you might bottom out and have these things each side of the V hit each other without pinching the tube enough. So I stuck some tubes in. Doesn't seem like it's too big. Seems like it's almost too big for like a 1-inch top tube, but I'm gonna put the JB Weld and the leather in. That should solve that. But let's cut this thing. If I was a real maniac, which I am, I just take it over and hand saw it real fast. Fast and clean. It's a little hard. I kind of want to do it. I don't like power tools. I barely ever use this thing either, but now that I'm older, I'm hoping to use it more often. I get my MIG welder out and blah, blah, blah. It's also dirty. To use power tools to cut it, it's so dirty. It's only going to take a second. I probably will. Stop talking about it. Let's just do it. All right. I got this guy marked up. I got about 7 centimeters, another one at 7 centimeters, and matchy. Got clamped to the vise. I know people hate buying tools, but man, if you wanna do real work, you gotta have tools. This is a fancy vise. I got another vise I got for free from a customer. They're popping for free or for cheap all the time on the old internets. You said that tubing notcher too. They're expensive. I'm gonna pay like $280 for our last one. So it's supposed to be like the nicest one. Probably 80, 90 bucks, 150 bucks new. They're cheap, they're junk. There's a million of them. Everyone in the world's bought one and then never used it. So, always check Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace first. I always say check 5, 10 times over a couple of weeks. Anything you need will pop up. It just will. If you live in a city. If you're not in the city, I don't know. There's a lot of people use auction sites, eBay, but stuff, garage sales, but stuff, oh my God, if you're not in the city, out in the country, the garage sales are the best. Everybody out in the country used to be a machinist or a welder or a mechanic and has every tool in the world. It's great. I used to drive out in the country all the time just to go to estate sales and garage sales. Got this thing in here. Speaking of tools you probably don't want to buy, This is a 4.5-inch angle grinder from Old Harbor Freight. They're 25 bucks. Get a set of cutoff wheels, 5 or 6 of them for 10 bucks. Not too expensive. You will use this all the time for fabricating tools, benches, supplies, mounts. I use this for cutting off bike U-locks. I have a whole video on that. You get a lot of customers who break their key off or lose something, and I would charge, I think we charged 25 or 30 bucks if you brought it in. If I had to go to your house, I ride my bike out to your house, the big giant extension cord in this, or out to in front of the new season, as long as you didn't seem shady, you proved it was your bike, you could show me the key was broken off or lost or whatever. And I think I charge at least $50 to do that. I go out and it takes like 10 seconds, the $25 tool. It's worth learning. Got some ear protection because this thing is loud. Hot sparks. Hot sparks in my Birkenstocks. Ugh. Now I got these 2 pieces cut. I might just take the old bench grinder, just clean them up a little bit, get the burrs off, clean this rust off. I'll put this back in my pile. Some other angle iron, some large chunks, some flat plate. Every once in a while you gotta make your own drop out from scratch for some reason. Nice big piece of 1/4-inch steel flat plates, great for that. I think I got this bench grinder for 10 bucks. Old, it's cool, it's got no safety stuff. Speaking of safety stuff, I didn't have the safety stuff on. Didn't have real safety glasses, just these plastic glasses. Do all the things safe and right. Do as I say, not as I do. Especially when you knew that grinder kicks back. You have to find the right angle, the right little section of the wheel to use to cut. Otherwise it'll kick back, it'll break, it'll fly across the shop, fly in your eyes. I also recommend only doing this stuff earlier in the day. Shooting hot sparks, especially with a welder. Hot spark can get in a little piece of cardboard or a little pile of dust in the back and you can just ember and slowly burn for hours and burn your whole shop down. So I've never had that happen. I've definitely caught a few things in fire with the MIG welder. I know some other people have caught some serious things in fire with the MIG welder. It's the best to do early in the day and keep an eye out. Don't just leave right away. All right. A little grinder action. Just to clean up the edges. Not so bad. Wire wheel. So I just got the ends where I cut and cleaned up so not sharp and gonna stab me around the corners a little bit, took off all the sharp burrs, took my old wire wheel and just sort of got through some of this rust and scale. If this is going to be going on a bike, I would really clean the crap out of this. It was like brand new. This is being brazed up on that thing. It's probably mostly clean enough. I might sand it a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, it's not as clean as I want. I can take the wire wheel a little bit longer. You can see like the clean edge on the top, or shiny and silver. I kind of want it all like that. You can see they're about the same. They're not perfect. I'm not trying to make them perfect. I don't have any machine tools. Just got to hold. Just gonna go in that little thing and just pinch a tube. I got this real thin leather. I think it's too thin for what I want to do. I like some real thick leather. I got this, it's a little bit thicker. I've been using this in my work stand so I don't melt the plastic park clamp so much. It's also too thin. I have some thick black leather. It's like belt strips. I got a Goodwill a while ago with a bunch of them. It's at home. have like 4 things at home I need to bring here and 4 things here I need to take home. I always forget every day. So we might not get that far. I think it's at home. It's probably in a bag here. Whatever. I do that later. Nice and thick to go in there. It's only like thin strips, but it might be thick enough. I think it'll be thick enough. Got to remember to look for that and bring it here. But now, I'm going to take these guys, I'm going to braze one of them into that clamp. This clamp is it's 3 pieces of steel, well 4 really, but they're already welded together. So this U went through and then they welded it, which makes it very, very awkward and weird. It's very awkward and weird, but I got an idea. Put it down like this so the U is pinched all the way up. This thing's clamped pretty tight. Another Fantastilicious tool, a little welding magnet from Old Harbor Freight. Maybe set that on here and keep this U up out of the way. And I'm just going to file the paint off of here in both of these V grooves so that I can get these guys brazed on. I'll do this one first because then I can just sort of set the other one on. I can put a piece of tube in there to clamp it down so I can get this thing flat and clamped on here. So I don't really want them all brazed all crooked and stuff. And I also hold the tube at slightly a weird angle that won't really work, and I'll always cut everything weird. I want to try and get them as straight as possible. Big flat file just to help take some of the edge or paint off. Not very flat at all. Throw a piece of sandpaper. It's getting most of the paint out. I really want all the paint out. A slightly smaller file, a little finer. This has like a rough casting edge or cut edge, so there's little low spots in it. You can still see paint. I don't want the paint to burn or smoke. It's all gonna burn, it's all gonna smoke. It's just holding the tube. It's not holding the person or the writer. It doesn't have to be super good. This side. And I'm planning on building a little fillet around, so I really ought to get some outside stuff too. You can always use a little wire wheel on a drill. It's doing about 0. About 0. Let's make it the file too. Filing through the Smil scale or work hardening or hard oil or whatever coating it is. Just want some nice clean shiny spots for it to stick to. Might as well get up under this U and do it too while it's not all welded together, maybe a little bit more out of the way. How wide is this guy? A little wider than this file? How about... Ooh, it's just about the same as this file. Because we're going to need this guy to sit in here. So I'm just going to file a little bit right out the middle, make a little bit of a flat spot, maybe even half round it a little bit, so she'll fit. Hoo, hi-ya. A little wider. If I have a file I would like better for this, I think the answer would be yes, but it appears to be no. Pretty flat. Still, it's not wide enough. That's so funny. I was like, this is way too wide. Not wide enough. I need from the flat side, man. Alright, here's one that's all square. Okay, got this little flat spot and this round spot. All right, this is all filed, it's pretty clean, it's pretty flat, everything's gonna fit. Get it jigged back up. This magneted out of the way. Use some brass flux paste. Do it one side at a time. Out of there. Do this one, so the other one's all mitered for the other side. Just because I'm so paranoid, I'm just going to clean it a little teeny bit. Anything you want brass to stick to or flow onto or anywhere you want it to go needs to be clean and covered in flux paste. It's got us sticking out of both sides, a couple of mils. It's heavy enough, can't really go anywhere. I probably don't need to hold it. Probably. Just like a heavy chunk of steel, put in here, out of the way. Kind of hold it down. Oh, what a mess. Should have cleaned up first. Doesn't look very clean. It's cleaning fingerprints and grease and factory smuts off these brass rods. Brass rods are probably too short. I'm probably going to regret it. It's a longer, skinnier one. Probably braise these brass rods together. I put my biggest tip on this, which I never use for frames, but I do use for making tools. It's the number 2. It's kind of a smaller handle. So 2 is huge, but maybe not as big as some other stuff. I don't know. I'm going to braise this up. It's going to take like a half hour. My phone's almost full of data, so I'll barely show a little bit of it probably. Nice big boy tip, because this is some thick 1/4-inch steel. It's hot. Braise these 2 sticks together so we don't have 2 short sticks. Sweet. Get this bad boy hot. It's going to take a long time. It's going to take a long, long time. Might have been faster to dig my MIG welder out and set it up and all that stuff, but probably not. All right, braised up. Did the V on both sides. Even that big number 2 tip. This is thick steel, especially this angle iron. Did not want to heat up. I put a lot of heat into it. Kind of gave up on getting the whole thing hot. So I did a little spot, dragged it around. The inside's probably not done very well, but the whole outside's done. It's definitely slipped under. Same thing as U on the top. Just too thick to get it hot enough. I used a little piece of tube to clamp it in here to try and hold it in place. This thing's definitely not level, so this whole thing's gonna be a little lot. I should have put it all back together and seen how crooked it was and how it actually worked. Maybe braised it crooked to compensate. But I think it's thick enough. I think we'll see. Worst case, we can grind a little bit of the actual angle iron down in case, it's a little crooked and one side likes to hit. It's not a big deal. Top U I got real hot. The stuff got real hot from the underside, the outside, the top U. Took a long time. So I got a lot of brass right at the peak, what really matters, and I'm pretty sure I sucked it all the way through. If not, big fillets on the outside, big suck through. But it's got way more brass on it than any Candy Boss in the world, and they never break. So a lot of brass should be fine for just pinching a tube, hold it in place when a drill bit goes through it. Let's look at a few cheap drill bits. So these are all for steel. These are the Lexan ones. I think they're like $10 or $15 a piece. They're like the cheapest steel ones you can get. A lot of frame builders use fancy $300 crazy bits on their machines. I bet they're better, and I bet they last longer. There's a giant DeWalt. bunch of Lexans in every different size. I actually got these from another frame builder who quit. Like bought all this stuff, maybe made a couple frames, and sort of gave up on it. So I ended up paying him $60 for like a 3-gallon bucket full of flux. He bought most of it from Breadwinner when they downsized. So we got all good deals too. But man, I got a whole ounce of silver, which is $67 now. They're $56 last week. They're $49 the week before. Inflation's stupid. Stop letting politicians destroy the value of your currency in your lives. We're not all wage slaves, so they can stuff money, slip money off the edge to shave every one of their bullshit policies and stuff it in their pockets. 10 richest counties in the country, all right around D.C. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why they have a $200,000 job and they'll have $17 million in the bank. Corrupt. None of them are for you. None of them are your friend. Not a single one. Some of them might be slightly less bad than others, slightly more often. It's not the ones you think, probably. A few Democrats and a few Republicans are totally the devil. Most of them are just corrupt narcissist devils. They came with a bunch of these big, giant, chunky bastards. Will not fit in my drill press. They're really huge. They're made for like a real mill. Luckily, this guy comes with his own bore and this little arbor adapter, and it magically, this big size is the right size for the big drill bits, and if you thread it off, this actual post is threaded the right size for the little drill bits. Magic. Lucky. Good stuff. Thanks, Lexan. In case you're wondering, this is a little T-handle. This threads down into that little U and sucks it up to clamp that little U stay up into the V stay. And these are the little bolts that hold this on here for center angles. I mostly do 72 and 73, so I'll probably just try and set this at 27 or whatever the opposite of 72 or 73 is, and probably think it's close enough and probably never mess with it. Because down tubes are totally different angles, they're like 60 or whatever. So maybe, but yeah, head tubes and seat tubes. Probably set it at 73. It'll probably be slightly off, and I'll just do the last couple millimeters of the miter. But this way I can get all the tubes out, miter one on both sides, get it on that drawing, be like, okay, it's real close. It's like 3 millimeters long on both sides, just a little bit, so I can shave and futz and get it just right. Not too short, not way, way, way too long. And then I'll just hold that tube up to 5 other tubes, hit them with a Sharpie in the same spot. This is where the drill starts. You line up the edge of that cutter. This is where the line the cutter touches. I can just come and bring every single one of them in here. If I was smart, I might figure out how to bolt a piece of metal off of this thing or something. So I have a nice straight long gauge going out, so I can use that Paragon machine block. But really the way to use that Paragon machine block is to clamp it on a tube, set that tube on your flat surface. Glass coffee table, even the drawing thing. Even if you just buy like a giant chunk of 3/8 steel plate. And a lot of guys do that, is use it as their bench top. And it's flat enough you can do your drawing on it, you can hold your tubes up. A lot of the machinist guys are like, oh, my tubes are within 62 thousandths of a millimeter, everything's perfect. I mean, if your bike's within a couple of millimeters here and there, it doesn't really matter. If you're off a degree here, that no one can tell. Only the fanciest bros can tell with the fanciest, checking tools, and they're just being elitist and whatever. I've seen so many bikes from the factory, rear end's 1/4 inch out, head tube's like 3 degrees off from the seats, like inches and inches out once you get out here, and your wingspan, you're like, oh my god, the whole thing's so crazy. No one cares, everyone loves them, they just ride the crap out of them, it doesn't matter. So I'm striving to get everything as perfect as can be with what you have, without driving yourself insane. It's close enough. If everything's off a millimeter, no one can tell. You slide your wheel in, your chain line, nothing matters, you're off 1 or 2 millimeters. So really close is good enough. But I will clamp that block and set it on this tube. And I will take like an angle checker or a square ruler or a metal ruler and just scrape it all the way down the tube on both sides. You have a nice scrape line, you know what your center is. If that's your center, as long as that's always centered and level, you're golden. And you'll really learn how to do that as you're making frames, to always scrape that tube you're working on in that V-block. So you're right lined up that V-block. So you flip the tube around or over, you're like, oh no, it's still, the scrape line's still totally flat. It's not up at an angle, it's not all the way up. Like you're always working off that one center. And we'll show some more of that as soon as we start building this frame we did the drawing for. Soon, maybe sooner. No, this thing's almost done. The leather's at home. I don't know if I'll remember it. JB Weld, I think I have it home. So I might not finish it in this video. There's a lot of stuff on here. I gotta get off my phone. So I'll probably just finish this video here, and we'll do another one where we'll show it all finished and together and working in the next video. So thanks for watching.